San Francisco for the man known as the Zodiac Killer.
There could be a serial killer in Chicago.
The Oakland County child killer.
Frankfurt slasher.
4 children have now been murdered.
Has killed 5, says he's going to kill again.
15 brutally murdered young women.
The pattern is the same.
One by one.
The death count started rising.
A man in a mask robbed, tied, and stabbed them.
Straight stuffed burlap bags.
It is highly unlikely that these women were murdered by separate men.
Where will the killer strike next?
Police can't answer who or why.
Marcus Allen Denvers was born on April 19, 1957, in Murray, Kentucky, the second of 3 children in a family that never stayed in one place for long. His father, a truck mechanic, died in a highway crash when Marcus was 10, leaving his mother to raise the children on occasional housekeeping jobs. Teachers later described Marcus as a withdrawn, angry boy who often lashed out at smaller classmates. He left home when he was 17 and joined the U.S. Army. He worked for a short time fixing vehicles at Fort Hood, Texas, but was sent out because he often got into fights and drank too much. During the 1980s, he moved from place to place, first Texas, then Mississippi, and later Alabama, doing small jobs in construction and warehouses. By 1991, he had settled in Ash Creek, a small factory town about 40 miles west of Montgomery, where he got a job at Carter Lumber and Pallet Company. Denvers kept mostly to himself. Co-workers remembered him as a large, intimidating man who drank heavily, carried a hunting knife on his belt, and often slept in an old, rusted trailer parked behind the company warehouse. The company owner allowed it because Denvers never missed a shift and didn't complain about long hours. Locals called him Big Mike. In July 1994, Deborah Willis, 36, was last seen leaving the Iron Horse Bar on Route 47 after midnight. Witnesses said she left with a heavy-set man driving a dark pickup. She was never reported missing for nearly a month because she had no fixed address. 2 months later, Jessica Jones, 27, vanished after telling a friend she'd been offered temporary work cleaning up at a lumber yard on the outskirts of Ash Creek. Police at first assumed both women struggled with addiction. Therefore, they had moved on to other urgent cases. But soon, strange things started happening behind the warehouse where Denvers lived. Workers began to notice a strong, rotten smell coming from a metal barrel near his trailer. At night, they sometimes saw smoke rising from it and spreading across the yard. When they asked what he was burning, Denvers told them he was just getting rid of rotten meat. By 1996, Denvers had built a small barbecue stand on a gravel patch beside his trailer. It was roughly made from old metal sheets and pieces of wood. A hand-painted sign out front said, "Big Mike's Country Grill, best pulled pork in the county." Truck drivers from nearby Route 8 often stopped there for sandwiches and beer. Later, investigators learned that meat suppliers had never sold him large amounts of meat. Denvers only bought small packs of pork and beef from a local discount grocery store and told people he could make it go further with his own mix. Customers recalled that Denvers would often stand nearby while they ate, quietly watching them with a faint smile. In September 1996, a city health inspector visited the stand and temporarily shut it down because it was extremely dirty. There were flies, bloodstains, and no refrigerator to keep the meat cold. A month later, Denvers reopened the stand after doing just enough cleaning to pass the next inspection. On the night of December 10, 1996, Renee Parker, 31, was walking along Highway 8 after leaving a bar in downtown Ash Creek when a pickup truck pulled over. The driver offered her a ride and promised food. She later told police she felt uneasy, but accepted. At his trailer, Parker said, Denvers locked the door, pulled a knife, and attacked her. She fought back, breaking a lamp, and managed to crawl through a shattered window while he tried to block her. Bleeding from her arms, she ran barefoot through the woods until she reached a gas station just after 1 a.m. The clerk called
911, what's your emergency?
Sheriff's deputies and city police arrived within minutes. They followed her directions to the location where she was held captive, but when they arrived, found the trailer dark and empty. Inside, they discovered ropes, bloodstains, and pieces of torn fabric. Denvers was arrested the next morning at Benny's Diner in downtown Ash Creek. Officers noted he appeared calm, eating bacon and eggs when they approached. At the Ash Creek Police Department, detectives Laura Kellner and Ray Hughes interrogated Denvers for nearly 12 hours. At first, he denied knowing Parker. When confronted with photographs of the trailer interior, he shrugged and said she had cut herself trying to leave. Around 8 p.m., after being told that forensic teams were already searching his property, Denvers began to talk. His statement, later recorded, lasted 3 hours. He admitted to killing Deborah Willis and Jessica Jones, strangling them when they started mouthing off, and burying them behind the warehouse. He also claimed he made sure nothing went to waste, describing in gruesome detail how he had cut and cooked parts of the bodies, mixing the flesh with pork for his barbecue sandwiches. Detective Kellner later testified that he spoke with no emotion, occasionally smirking. He said it like he was giving a recipe, he recalled. Forensic teams spent 3 days searching the area behind Carter Lumber and Pallet Company. On December 13, they uncovered a shallow grave containing partial skeletal remains later identified through dental records as Deborah Willis. Jewelry fragments and a rusted necklace clasp matched items listed in her missing person file. 2 days later, they found a second grave less than 30 yards away, containing bones from Jessica Jones. Both bodies showed evidence of dismemberment. Inside Denver's trailer, investigators seized knives and a meat grinder containing mixed DNA. Testing months later confirmed human tissue in 2 of the samples, though it was too degraded to identify. On March 4, 1998, Marcus Denvers was indicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder, kidnapping, attempted rape, and abuse of a corpse. Prosecutors sought the death penalty. The trial opened in Jefferson County Circuit Court that September. District Attorney Cole presented evidence including the taped confession, forensic reports, and photographs from the dig site. The defense argued that Denver's confession was coerced and that the human DNA from the grinder might have come from contamination. The jury deliberated less than 5 hours. On March 4, 1998, they returned a verdict of guilty on all counts, recommending the death penalty. Judge Eldon Rivers formally sentenced Denvers to death by lethal injection. In 1999, the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals overturned the death sentence, ruling that prosecutors had improperly introduced details from unverified confessions about other possible victims. The court reduced his sentence to life without parole. Denvers was transferred to Redstone Maximum Security Prison in Huntsville, Alabama. Over the next 17 years, he granted interviews to journalists and criminologists. He often contradicted himself, at times claiming he killed 6 women, at others saying the police made half of it up. A 2000 2009 interview with the Montgomery Ledger quoted him saying, "People ate my food and said it was the best they ever had. That's all that matters." Prison officials later restricted his contact with media. On September 12, 2015, guards performing morning rounds found Denver's unresponsive in his cell. He was pronounced dead at 6:37 a.m., age 58, from an apparent heart attack. No foul play was suspected. Following his death, the abandoned Build Corps and Supply site was fenced off and later demolished. The patch of gravel where Big Mike's Country Grill once stood is now an overgrown lot used by delivery trucks. The Ash Creek community still remembers the case as one of Alabama's most horrifying crimes. Retired Detective Kellner said in a 2017 documentary, he wanted to be remembered. That's why he told the stories, the meat, the sandwiches. Whether it was true or not, he wanted people to talk about him.